gummy bear.
It's the internet. You're busy. Let's do this for May 3rd, 2023. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, everyone is mad about Zelda coverage, Double Dragon is back, and PS5 Pro rumors heat up again. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Mike Minotti, everybody. Mike, how are you doing?
Mike Minotti, good. Mike Minotti liked Double Dragon.
Yeah, I got some good news for you. I thought you might be excited about this.
Wow, that's incredible timing. Matt McMuscles just did his 10-hour video about Double Dragon. I'm like, yeah, Double Dragon. I'm in a mood for that. Awesome.
Fix your camera here, make you a little bit more.
No, I like being taller than you.
Oh, never mind. Okay, man, the 6'8" Mike Minotti energy is just off the charts today. Yeah, I one of my favorite things, Mike, is you come in pretty fresh and you don't know, and whenever there's a new story I know you're going to be excited about, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna get a pop out of him, and I'm like, yeah,
get a pop out of Mikey.
I think the Double Dragon, it looks really good.
I'm excited.
We'll get
that
to
Double Dragon
sure.
movie, by the way, great. Not even so bad it's good. I like that movie. That's a fun movie.
I think it is. I think it's pretty boring in parts, but overall I enjoy it. Overall, I have a pretty good time with it. Whenever I try to watch it these days, though, I if I'm not doing the Prime streaming thing to Twitch, if I try to watch it just on my own, I'll kind of fall asleep during it. So what am I supposed to do? I'm an old man.
Yeah, definitely watch it with friends for sure.
Yes, exactly. It's a social event. What's that?
The guy from Iron Chef's in it. He's
That's right.
Jimmy. I love that.
And the guy from Party of Five is in it. It's all the stars are here. All right. Let's get into this. Before we do, let's explain what we do here. Most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input. Did you see that someone is still quoting us from that show last night that we did about I was regurgitating other people's rumors about Redfall, and they're like, Jeff Grubb says. I'm like, man, I'm so glad I didn't say the other thing I was going to say.
Oh, Jeff, you almost dropped a bomb. I'm glad, you told me what it was. That's incredibly interesting, but let's not let the people know that just yet.
Yeah,
they'll just yell at us.
Later this year, if you guys want to know this, 6 months from now, set a reminder 6 months from now and say, hey, Jeff, what was that thing you wouldn't say? I'll tell you then, maybe. For all these topics, look at the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. Okay, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with...
Wait, first!
Please.
Jeff, you stupid son of a bitch. There's wall jumping in other games. That's not a reference.
I'll kill you! I hate you!
Oh my god. Everyone go on Twitter and tell Jeff that wall jumping's in other games. You don't know, Jeff discovered an Easter egg in Jedi Survivor where 3 aliens, little alien dudes, teach you how to wall jump, just like a Super Metroid. It's a direct reference. It's incredible. And GameSpot made a video, and all these people are replying wall jumpings in other games, completely missing the point with the little aliens. And I found Jeff's personal hell, and I am just looking to expand that empire. I love it.
It is truly a hellscape that I'm living through. It is. People are like, Mario's been wall jumping for years. I'm like, even in that, okay, on your own terms, Super Metroid's been wall jumping longer than Mario.
Yeah, that's also pretty funny, actually.
Yeah.
That's my favorite kind of self-reporting is the people who are like,
yes.
Hey, idiot. And it's
yeah, you've done nothing here but tell on yourself. Go play Super Metroid. It turns out it's a good game. Fucking read a book.
Super Metroid wall jumping is so good because it's actually optional.
I know, and it's kind of hard to do. And
it's hard to do.
I want to do. I have this idea of bringing back Encyclopedia. I'm just going to throw this out, so I'm kind of committing myself to doing something like this one day. I want to bring back Encyclopedia Bombastica, which is a series that Giant Bomb used to do, where it's we're going to talk about a game, but instead we're going to talk about concept pages on the Giant Bomb wiki. And I want to do wall jumping, and then I want to talk about what happened to wall jumping, because it's it used to be this hard thing, a skill-based thing, and that's changed, and is that good or bad? And I kind of want to go over that.
Interesting.
Because there's that Super Metroid, it was this thing that I can wall jump in there. It's I can actually pull that off, and now it's just table stakes and so easy, and it probably is for the better, because wall jumping's really cool and opens up more possibilities for your game. But yeah. All right, let's get into this first story, which feels like an old story, but everyone's acting like it's new, so maybe there's just specifics in here. Xbox Games Showcase at Starfield Direct, dated for June 11th, from Michael McWhirter at Polygon. Microsoft will hold its annual Xbox Games Showcase on Sunday, June 11th, where the publisher promises new surprises and first looks from Xbox Game Studios and its third-party partners. That showcase will be followed by Bethesda's Starfield Direct live stream, which is said to offer new gameplay and developer interviews and behind-the-scenes insider information on Starfield. The Xbox Game Showcase will kick off at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific time. I think these times are the new thing, although I think we also kind of knew because they always kind of do it at these times. And will stream on Xbox's YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook channels, Microsoft said in a post on Xbox Wire, which is also new today. But Mike, what are you expecting from this showcase now that they've like double confirmed about when this is happening? Do you think they're going to have a lot of these games we've been waiting for later this year or even early 2024?
They got to have at least a couple of real good-looking things here, Jeff. I mean, the Starfield thing's got the pressure on Starfield is immense right now. Yep. It's almost beginning to seem unfair, but that is what it is. Yeah, we gotta have a good combination of, hey, yeah, here's something like a Hellblade 2, and it's looking really good, or here's Fable, and it's looking great, Perfect Dark, and there's also has to be some announcements that are going to get people really excited. I wouldn't be shocked if we heard about Gear 6 or something like that. They have to have a good show. It's been they started this year great by launching Hi-Fi Rush, and it was excellent. Then it's been bad since then. It's been rough, culminating in this disastrous launch for Redfall. So, and I mean, I don't think that I'm sure they were always planning to announce this now.
Yeah.
But there is something interesting about this timing of just you released maybe, I'm struggling to think otherwise, maybe your worst AAA game, first party exclusive ever. And now it's like, hey guys, please be excited.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, do you feel like there was any sort of deliberateness in this timing? And it is hard not to sort of build those connections, even though you're right. It's almost certainly coincidence. It's almost certainly this is what they always plan to do. But they also, I'll have the video here in a second. They also put out like a new marketing video about like, oh, what's exciting coming from the future. And this also feels like an attempt to wipe the slate clean of Redfall a little bit and move on pretty quickly, although Redfall does appear in this video. But so does like a lot of games that are either out now on Game Pass or coming soon. One of the things that is in here is Hellblade 2, and they don't have anything like Fable or Avowed or Perfect Dark or a lot of other things. Do you think that this is indicating maybe Hellblade 2 is coming out pretty soon?
I mean, Hellblade's got to be earlier than, say, a Perfect Dark or Contraband or some of these other things. So I think that's got to be probably next-ish, maybe after Starfield. That would make a lot of sense. This is killing me, by the way, because it's reminding me that the commercials for Redfall had like CG cutscenes. The game has slideshows for this.
God, that's right. Man, I didn't think about that at all. That's wild.
That's incredible. Yeah, Hellblade's got to be sort of next-ish in there. And that's a good team over there. Their last big project was that multiplayer game that I thought was kind of fun, but it didn't stick around at all. Killing Blades,
Bleeding Edge, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, something like that. So that didn't have any staying power. Bleeding Edge, yeah. Hopefully, Hellblade 2 will.
Yeah, and it's I mean, I think Hellblade 2 probably is like the next big one up that doesn't have a firm release date. We know we get Forza, we get Starfield, and then they have this showcase, and they're probably gonna have to date one or two of these other things. I think Fable is still quite a ways off based on the state of that game, which does sound like it is. It's going through a rough patch of development, which a lot of games do. That doesn't mean anything, but it's like, God, after Redfall, fucking take your time, as much time. After Redfall and Halo Infinite, which, Halo Infinite, I liked. It launched fun, but it needed more content and probably did need more time. Don't do that to Fable as well, especially if it's going through a rough patch. So it's like, just keep pushing that off. But I hope we get a good look at a lot of these games that have already been announced, and I don't need a ton of new things. Just show me that Perfect Dark actually looks like a real video game and looks fun. That would be ideal, and do kind of the same thing with a lot of these other ones. I don't need like Everwild to show up to like have this be a good show, but a lot of these other ones do need to actually make an appearance, I think.
No, but it'll be cool to like see the new Psychonauts game, the new Double Fine game, right? Things like that. There
Yep.
are some. I mean, they have so many studios. There's got to be some that are just going to be ready to show something here. So I do want to see a couple surprises. Those things work. You can't don't do like that play we've seen in the past where you're announcing things 15 years off. That's not going to play well. Don't you can't do your we're going to announce Elder Scrolls 6 now moment like Bethesda did way back. Hey, what is the play on Redfall now? Like, are we going to get the tweet with the apology, or you think they're just going to kind of like keep their heads low on this and move on?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it's like at a certain point they have to be deciding what their future is with that game, and if there is one, they might already know. But if it is just, hey, we're firing and forgetting, maybe you do just kind of keep, maybe speak directly to your community and don't make it a big thing like out on Twitter, but you like go whatever, it's like game forums or the Discord, and just say, hey, yeah, we're going to continue patching this game here and there, but don't promise anything major. Because I mean, if I were them, and this is just me saying what I would do, I would move on. I would just move on to whatever's next. Redfall's probably not worth saving. I don't know what's there. The structure seems so far away from a game that could be fun and complete, and by the time you get there, it's going to be so different. And it's not super duper a live service game. Like, it felt like maybe at one point it was going to be more of that. And so it's like people aren't going to be sticking with this. They're going to have their weekend or two with it where they play it with their friends and then probably never play it again, which is unlike a Sea of Thieves that, sure had an unimpressive start, but people saw the fun there immediately, where they're like, just goofing off with my friends in this world is fun. And we're going to keep, a lot of people came back regularly for months after that. And then they kept getting new stuff on top of that. And it was obviously so worth it. I just don't see this being a Sea of Thieves, but hey, if they want to prove us all wrong, go for it. That's their, the prerogative. This the showcase and the Starfield Direct will also be accompanied by FanFest that will be virtual and in person. Although I don't know if they've shared the details of that. I saw Aaron Greenberg tweeting that there'll be in-person FanFests. I suppose that would probably be at the Microsoft Theater. They've done that before, which is where they're going to be broadcasting this from. So I guess we'll get the details on that soon. Next up, rumor PlayStation 5 Pro dev kit being sent out in the next couple of months. This comes from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. The PS5 Pro is reported to be in development by Sony, and according to recent speculation, it is believed that first-party developers could be getting their hands on a prototype version of the upgraded console in the next few months. This report comes to us from Insider Gaming's Tom Henderson, who states with, quote, 100% certainty that the PS5 Pro is in active development and is expected to release to consumers in late 2024. Henderson also states that third-party developers should be getting an early version of the PS5 Pro by the end of the year. Should all these claims prove to be true, it will be exciting to see how Sony will upgrade its most powerful console yet. And Tom also, in that report, said, anything could get canceled. It could get canceled, but right now it's in active development. And my take on this, Mike, was always, oh, yeah, it's 100% in development. I believe that. We know that. We know that they would not just be like, well, there's never going to be a reason for that. We won't even try. Of course, they're working on a PlayStation 5 Pro. I'm just still skeptical that they will launch one, because the way I look at it, and this is Sony, it's a different company, but the way I look at it is Nintendo is the company that has always releases an updated version of its handhelds, and the Switch is basically one of its new handhelds. And even they were like, we don't actually need to do that this time around. It's selling well enough. The price hasn't really dropped. So we're not going to do it. It's actually not worth it, even though they got really close. According to the reporting, they were working on a Switch Pro. They did send out dev kits to multiple developers, and then they pulled the plug on it, and they kicked the can down the road. And I think Nintendo, which always does this, didn't want to do that. So a PlayStation that did do it, and like the PS4 Pro was fine, but it was not the thing that most people were buying. Most people did just buy PS4 vanillas even after the Pro came out. I don't know. I think Sony probably could see the writing on the wall that maybe it won't be worth it, and maybe it will have negative ramifications. For me, I feel like if you put that thing out, I think it muddies the water a little bit for people who tried so hard to get a PS5 for so long, and the console's so good already. Why do we need a Pro? It's a tough sell, but that's just me maybe getting too much up in my head. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I don't know. It feels weird to me too, Jeff. The PlayStation 5 is in a really good spot right now. It still is just doing well. And even when games like have problems, like a Jedi Survivor, I mean, those problems are worse on better PCs. It's not because of the internal hardware on the PlayStation 5. It's just optimization is the thing with a lot of these games. So I don't know, releasing a PlayStation 5 with a better who's what's it's here and a little bit something there. I don't know. I don't. That just seems like a weird sell right now. I don't know why you need this mid-gen refresh. And people are like, well, they did it last time. Last time was this really different circumstance with those systems coming in
Yes.
underpowered, anyways, coming in not designed for 4K, and then 4K TVs really took off. There were a lot of reasons why a PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X made sense, and I just don't understand what the impetus is this time around, other than, well, we did it last time, or other than, well, we want to sell a system for a higher price, and we can't just increase the price of the PlayStation 5 in America. We'll do it other places, but we can release this new thing and charge more for that, maybe.
Yeah, right. That's the that was one of the big considerations. That's what I was explicitly told at the time of the PS4 Pro, was that the price of the PS4 is going down, and this is a way to keep prices higher. That came directly from someone at Sony at the time, and it was oh yeah, that makes sense. And it's like, and then that PS4 Pro does the thing that Nintendo's upgraded systems always do, which is you sell to the same people who were the early adopters in the first place. Someone in chat, I'm sorry, went by. Someone in chat mentioned that. And it's like, that is absolutely what these Pro systems have always been about. Going back to the Game Boy Color, you put it out, and then the people who are super into your hardware, they buy that, and then they sell their previous stuff used to someone else, or give it to a cousin, or give it to someone else. And it creates this cycle of getting more money from the people who are most willing to give you money. And and that's something that is always worth exploring. But I think they can still get that exact same effect by putting out a PS5 Slim with larger storage. And that would cost less. But I mean, at the same time, like, this might just happen under its own momentum. Sony is working on it. Sony does consider that a something that's like worth investing in. And it's like, well, if we did all the work to make it, it might be worth it. But they're also going to be getting more efficient chips from AMD sort of regularly. And that at a certain point, that's going to be like, well, we've already put one more efficient chip in there. The next chip is like, okay, yeah, we can reduce the cooling even more, and we can make it super slim. But then we're still going to have this overhead of, we couldn't also increase the power significantly. And maybe we should just flip that on. And that's like a good marketing beat. I could see them talking themselves into it. I still, no matter what, do not think it's actually that good of an idea this time around.
Agreed.
All right, Mike. Double Dragon Gaiden announced with Scott Pilgrim inspired visuals and gameplay. This comes from Ollie Reynolds at Nintendo Life, and I'm gonna play the trailer here so everyone can see it. The Double Dragon franchise is back after a 6-year absence with Double Dragon Gaiden: Rise of the Dragons, a 2D beat 'em up with visuals and gameplay not too dissimilar from Ubisoft's Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. And I mean, yeah, I guess so. Like, I feel like it just looks like a modern beat 'em up. Developed by Secret Base, the studio behind Streets of Red, Devil's Dare Deluxe, Double Dragon Gaiden features co-op action gameplay infused with roguelike elements to deliver classically informed, highly replayable Double Dragon style brawls with a new edge. Double Dragon Gaiden: Rise of the Dragons is currently slated to release this summer. Mike, what do you think?
You're losing me a little bit with the Scott Pilgrim stuff. I know people like that game. I do not like that. Scott Pilgrim beat 'em up. I think it plays really slow and tedious. It looks very nice. But this looks fun. It looks like the pixel art here. They had Maria there. That's nice. She just showed up in River City Girls 2, actually. She's not Maria, whatever her name is now. I said it wrong. But yeah. Oh, there are lots of characters. Yeah, this looks like it could be a lot of fun. You said Secret Base worked on something else. I didn't immediately
Streets of
recognize
Red,
that.
Devil's Dare Deluxe. Mike, I don't know what that is.
Might be fan games or not. If not fan games, like one of those very clearly indie games, super inspired, obviously by a Double Dragon or a Streets of Rage, that kind of thing. Part of me wishes that this was just way forward, because they did that pretty good Double Dragon Neon and then River City Girls, obviously. But at least this looks better than, I think the last game. It is Marion. That's what it is. It got cut off when I'm looking at it. It says Maria. I'm like, that's
sorry.
Not right. It's Marianne.
That's my framing.
It's your fault that I said the name
finally.
wrong.
You can blame me for something. I finally made a mistake on this show.
Finally. It's bound to happen one of these days. I think I do like Marion's super muscle mommy art in River City Girls 2 more, but she still looks pretty good here. I'll allow. At least she's not dead like in Double Dragon 2, so that's nice. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm into it. I hope it's good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're living in the golden age of beat 'em ups again, and it's pretty fantastic because they've really figured out that this genre, it can still work as long as you're doing doing a little bit more, and it doesn't take a lot more, a little bit more, making more complex combo systems or combat systems, excuse me, like Streets of Rage 4, which is like it feels very good, or adding like just that dodge that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has. There's a lot of stuff you can do with this. I really like the idea of it being a roguelike. I think that is something that's a good fit. That's something that Streets of Rage 4 added later, and it's a really good mode for that game. And I think kind of maybe building one of these around that from the get-go is a pretty good idea. Because it's already something like, oh yeah, I guess I'll play through the levels, but beat 'em up's always so short, and you go through it, so you're gonna replay it anyhow. So why not build it with that in mind from the get-go? So yeah, I'm excited about this. This looks pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think that does make a lot of sense, adding those roguelike elements. I mean, Double Dragon 2 on NES and some of the other entries had RPG elements anyway, so those are
Right.
somewhat easy to just turn into roguelike elements. This is a much better direction than what Double Dragon 4 was, the last game we got, even after Neon. And it was just like they tried to do the Mega Man 9 style, just retro sequel, and it just wasn't enough anymore. I was like, okay, this is cute and all. I want a little bit more from a video game than for it to play exactly like Double Dragon on the NES. And this looks like it has all the bells and whistles. I'm excited.
Yep, me too. All right, next up, everyone is freaking out at Kotaku for basically reporting about a game. Yesterday, Kotaku posted a story entitled "Everything We're Learning About Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom from the Leaks." Mike, I read this, and it is just not worth the amount of anger it is producing on the internet. People are very, very mad at them, and mostly it's framed as Kotaku complained that Nintendo blacklisted them for previous reports, and now they're doing this, and everyone's like, "Well, this is why they blacklist you." And it's, I mean, I get that logic, I get that, but one, why the fuck do you care? You're not Nintendo. Why? Well, like that's kind of weird to care this much. But two, it's like, well, they still are just doing their job. They're writing about a game in a way that they can without getting the access provided by Nintendo. And if people want to really lose their minds about a company or about a writer finding a way to do their job regardless of not getting access, like that's just actually what journalism is. Like, even when you don't get access, you still have to figure out a way to write about these things. And the information in there is just not, it's not going to ruin anyone's experience. It is just like basic stuff that in a more from a more sane company would have been covered in the previews. It is like whether or not you can pet a dog. I won't answer it. I'm not going to spoil it for you, everybody, but it's answered in that story if you want to go read it. Or whether or not the music is good. I won't spoil that for you either, but it's in the story if you want to go take a look at that. It's that kind of stuff, and it's just not worth it. I mean, maybe the biggest thing is like whether or not dungeons are in there. Well, again, that answer's in there. I won't spoil it, but it's just not. It's weird how people react to this. I guess it just goes back to I hate Kotaku, so what they are doing, I will react to that way to it. It's just not worth it. I don't know, Mike. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's largely a combination of there people do get really mad about Kotaku, right? I've gotten mad at Kotaku before for things, right?
But yeah, who hasn't? Yeah,
right. And I calm down, like, all right, whatever. It's fine. They're a site doing their thing. They're going to have misfires, and then people are just really anxious about these leaks. Jeff, people are so excited for Tears of the Kingdom. Anything that they think is going to somehow ruin that experience for them, they are just very defensive about. And this to them probably seems like, wow, you're spreading this stuff. You're going to make it so much worse. And they're not going to read the story because they're afraid of the spoilers or the leaks, and they're not going to see. Not really that big of a deal. No, I agree. We should. I want to empathize a little bit people who are like nervous or upset, but I don't know. I don't think we need to attack Kotaku for this.
Yeah, I'm like, I always want to be the person that's like, our job is criticism. So when people criticize us, we have to be willing to hear that. None of this sounds like that. This just sounds like, because most of the people complain seemed like they didn't actually read the story, which of course they wouldn't want to because they're afraid of spoilers. Fine. But boy, it seems out of proportion. And I don't get it.
We should not be happy about Nintendo blacklisting companies though, or like wagging it in people's
Exactly. Right.
faces.
Especially for doing their job, which is like mostly just for trying to report on these companies. And that's how you end up getting blacklisted. And, it's like that, the LA Times with Disney, right? They reported on Disney's relationship to Anaheim and the sort of fraught nature of that relationship. And the LA Times got punished by getting blacklisted from reviewing Disney movies. And it's like they're wielding this cudgel, and people can be like, well, you are not entitled to have these things early. And of course not. Of course not. But it is weird for those companies to sort of to do that, and it's worth calling out. And the way that was dealt with is a bunch of other reviewers banded together with LA Times, said, well, we're not going to review Disney movies, and made it a big deal. And we just sort of don't have that same sort of in video games. It's a little bit messier. It always is a little bit messier, but for the most part, hey, they didn't agree to embargo. If you want a site to not report certain stuff, give them the stuff under embargo. If you give them the access, then they agree to the embargo, and then they can't do it. So
there you go.
It's kind of simple. I remember it was, like someone told me like, "Hey, here's a game that's going to be at Summer Game Fest. Please don't leak it." I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Well, if I would have found out about this through other ways and you didn't give it to me, I might have. But now that I'm under the embargo now. Like that's how it works. And like, you're very smart to just tell me." All right. Switch version of Marvel's Midnight Suns has been canceled as the game is dated for Xbox One and PS4. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. 2K Games has canceled plans to release Marvel's Midnight Suns for Nintendo Switch. The news was announced on Tuesday alongside a release date for the delayed Xbox One and PS4 versions of the Firaxis-developed game. The last-gen console versions will be released digitally on May 11th with no plans for a physical release. Quote, the Nintendo Switch version of Marvel's Midnight Suns will no longer be offered as part of the updated plans, 2K said. In a press release, not too surprising, right, Mike? That juice is not going to be worth the squeeze, right?
I think everybody forgot that was supposed to be a thing that was going to happen. Good enough for coming out and just saying, hey, that's not happening. We know we said that at some point. Turns out, no. But yeah, it is a shame. It's like Marvel Midnight Suns is a game a lot of people did like. It really flew under the radar, though.
Yeah, it's I think it's going to slowly get more and more of its flowers over time as people go, oh man, I did miss out on
Galaxy
this
situation.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's not going to be that to that degree. Guardians of the Galaxy is a game that's very easy to love and proselytize, but this is a game that is I think the gameplay's super solid and the story's actually kind of quirky, and I think people will come around to it more and more. They already sort of have. I mean, when you do hear about Midnight Suns, it's people going, oh yeah, it was one of my favorite games last year. Now that I think about it, and I think there'll be more and more of that.
Right. And even though it's like, oh, there's so many people have a Switch, blah, blah, blah. Just porting your game to Switch doesn't necessarily mean it's going to sell particularly well there. We're seeing this with some of the bigger live service games. I some of them are just leaving that platform altogether. Other ones we hear just don't make all that much money there. And I'm sure that is true for some of these games that are just better associated with the PlayStations and Xboxes. I don't know if porting that over to a Switch necessarily is going to give you a whole lot of kickback.
All right, moving on here. EA announces Super Mega Baseball 4, which is due to launch June 2nd. This comes from Rachel Kaiser at GamesBeat. Electronic Arts, EA Sports, and Metalhead Studio today announced a release date for Super Mega Baseball 4, the latest game in the cartoonish sports series. The new game launches on June 2nd and marks the series' debut on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. It will also launch on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC with crossplay. Super Mega Baseball 4 features over 200 playable characters based on real baseball players, and that is why I wanted to include this story. This is, I think Metalhead Studios has been acquired by EA Sports, and now they are being able to leverage that connection of EA and the budget to be able to get these real players in there. Super Mega Baseball is actually like secretly the best, not just baseball game, but one of the best sports games of the last several years, and has been throughout its entire run here. Getting real players in there, I think, is going to really help take it to the next level of attracting an audience that would have been like, yeah, listen, I come to the baseball games to play as my favorite players, and now it seems like they're going to be able to do some of that. There's also developer Metalhead also adds community requested features such as the expanded player traits and a team chemistry system. They've also updated the graphics and sound design with new animations, lighting, and Foley audio to give players an immersive experience. That sounds pretty good. Have you ever touched any of these Super Mega Baseball games, Mike?
No, I'm going to be excited to try this. I'm a little surprised it is literally Super Mega Baseball 4. I guess when EA bought them, I thought there would be some rebranding or something to kind of like launch their own thing.
Yeah, what was EA's baseball series called?
Oh gosh, back in the day, did World Series was not, that was 2K, right? Or World Series was Sega back in the day.
Yeah, I'm trying to was it just EA Sports Baseball? That's the game. Oh, MVP Baseball. There we go.
MVP Baseball. There it is. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't bring that back necessarily. Who cares?
Right.
But yeah, World Series was Sega. But yeah, I guess I thought that there would be some branding, or even like if it was just, I don't know, the 4 is a little weird. Maybe if it was just Super Mega Baseball 23, but it's probably not going to be a yearly thing necessarily. So I guess that does make some sense. But hey, maybe that's just branding. Whatever. It looks like fun. I want to try it.
Yeah, I think you start here with getting the real players in there, call it 4, and then down the line, if it's again something that can turn into a annual franchise, you can always switch over the numbers later to the dates later. Triple Play is actually the game I was thinking of, and that was what it was called before MVP. Thank you, Marino. Triple Play is a name I actually do have some nostalgia for.
That's a good
Not
name.
A ton, but
there's a lot of good baseball things you can just use as your name, though.
Yeah,
a ton
true.
of them.
Yep.
So that's to be honest, just Super Mega Baseball. Not really my favorite name.
I think it's I'm fine with it just because I've played it and I've come to terms with it. But I think just kind of looking at it, like the Pepsi challenge of it is a little bit off-putting. I think Super Mega Baseball just sounds so generic.
Right, and it's like Super Mega Baseball 4, and I know these games had fans. For a lot of people, they don't know what this is, and that there's a 4th one. It's a sports game. People are going to be like, "Well, do I have to play the other 3?" Of course not. That'd be funny. I like the show a lot, but I played those games for a long time now, right? I've been playing those since like 2009, and of course I'm not going to check that out every year. So yeah, I want to try something else for my baseball fix this year, and this looks good.
All right, let's go with this next one, which I just inserted here. Thanks to whoever put this in the chat again. I'm sorry I missed the name. Pokemon Trading Card Game Live will launch on June 8th. They confirmed this. This is the updated replacement version of that old version of that old software, the app that they had from 15 years ago that TurboSean still plays all the time, our mod over at Game Mess. They're actually launching a new version, although it still feels like people who have been playing the web version of Trading Card Game Live for years are not so certain about this because it's been in a rough state in its beta, and now that it's finally launching, I guess they're hopeful that it'll work, but we'll see. Mike, you going to get back into Pokemon Trading Card Game Live when the app launches on June 8th?
No.
Cool.
I watched Sean. I think Sean's actually even been playing the beta of this, and I've been watching him play it, and I'm just like, man, back when I played this game, which was like when it came out, there was like your Pokemon would have like 60 HP, and he'd have like 2 attacks, and they did damage. Maybe you'd have to flip a coin to see if you also poison them. Look at it now. There's too much going on. The Pokemans is too complicated for me now. It's like it seems more complicated than Hearthstone. I think all these card games, and like this happened with Marvel Snap, even it definitely happened with Hearthstone. They exist for too long and they just get too complicated. And I'm like, nah, this is too much now. I don't want to even think about this. The Pokemon trading card game must absolutely be in that state. It has been around forever. I don't even want to think about what it would feel like to play as somebody who mostly played it back in 1999 or whatever.
Yeah, these games are definitely for people that have neuroplasticity still, where like your brain can learn new things. And no, my mind is very rigid and stone-like and does not accept new information kindly. So yeah, these kinds of games are not going to be my pace anymore. Fortnite's new Star Wars event, Find the Force, is now live. This comes from Liam Doolin at Nintendo Life. It's Star Wars Day tomorrow, and to celebrate this annual event, we've just accepted it's an annual event, it's a real thing. The free-to-play battle royale.
Pretend hard enough, Jeff.
Honestly, I say that, but it's not like any actual holiday is anything other than a concept in our brains. But
this isn't a real holiday like Arbor Day.
Exactly.
Which is mandated by God.
Oh man, the Arbor Foundation, they were supposed to send me. Okay, you know what, Mike? I'm ready to tell everybody about the holes.
What the hell?
The holes in my backyard.
The holes.
I dug 12 holes because the Arbor Foundation was going to send us 12 trees last year, and then they said, well, they're not ready. We'll send it to you sometime next year. And so I've just had holes in my yard for months, and they've just been sitting there. And my wife's like, no, they're going to send it. I'm like, I don't believe you. And they did send me one tree so far, and it's sitting in my garage, and I got to plant it immediately. There's
There
a
you
big
go.
like red sticker on there. So
I think you might have to go. You might have to go to like a landscaping place and buy the other trees now, Jeff.
I think, yes, exactly. I'm like, I do not believe these other ones are coming, so I'm gonna fill the holes in my yard. During the Find the Force event taking place between now and the 23rd of May, several rifts will open on the island. In these rifts, you will be presented with holograms of the Star Wars characters Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker, and the Sith Lord Darth Maul, who will train the players up in the ways of the Force. Once you're done with training, you'll emerge with your own lightsaber, colored green, blue, or red, and a bunch of Force abilities like push, pull, and throw. Here's a quote from the explanation. Whether you're a seasoned Fortnite player or new to the game, and even if you hate sand, you should visit the island for the latest Star Wars and Fortnite collaboration. Hey, a reference.
Reference.
I think I'm going to play this, Mike.
Oh yeah, the Star Wars stuff that they've done before was actually pretty good in Fortnite. It's weird that has been such a good fit. The Darth Vader costume is still one of my favorites. I think there's like an Anakin Skywalker costume this time around from Episode 3. That's a bad movie, but Anakin Skywalker looked cool in it. So.
Yes, that's true. There's a lot of cool looking stuff in that movie, even though it was a very bad movie.
Yeah, but yeah, and the idea of just straight up having a lot of these Force powers, that could be a lot of fun. I actually recently replayed The Force Unleashed. Actually, the one on Switch, which is up-res port of the Wii version. And that game's whole thing was using Force powers, and that's still fun. They're just kind of throwing people around. So yeah, I would like to go around and like throw off some anime people I don't recognize off a cliff and get some Fortnite points. Sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna force blast Naruto off a cliff. I love that idea. That's very good.
Yeah. Rachel Kaiser was to come on and defend Episode 3, and as her boss, I cannot allow her to do that to herself.
Mike. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I have to protect you, Rachel. I'm sorry. I have to save you from yourself.
Let's see. They have a little bit more here. There'll also be some other events and quests taking place on the island inspired by the prequel movies. Along with this are the extra character outfits on the item shop for Anakin Skywalker, Padme Amidala, and clone troopers, and there's some other themed gear as well.
Oh, is it Episode 2, Padme?
I think so, Mike. I think I was already picturing that in my head, so I might just be saying that because that's what I'm thinking about. But yes, I probably.
That was formative for young Mikey.
Yeah,
man, we are old because people just like the prequels, and it's kind of just like people get excited about prequel stuff. Which I don't know. Maybe it's fine. There's some things about the newer movies that do make the prequels look good, but no, those are still bad movies.
Marino's kind of got it, where he's like, he thought it was good until he kept head on in the background, kept hearing how bad the dialogue is. And really, that's maybe the major thing that really spoils that. I think as a silent film, with just like the music, it probably would work way better.
Well, that and just, I mean, the CG junk and those things. Like, I remember at one point during the 20-minute fight scene between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin, they're like standing on rocks on a lava river. A million things are happening. And then for no reason, a droid just kind of flies into frame in front of them, looks at the camera, and then flies away. And I just was like, what was that?
There's a lot of that in there.
Like, what is going on? But yeah, I'm not going to do my old man. Here's why the original trilogy is better than the prequels. There is something aesthetically about them that's kind of fun. It's like there's aspects of them I have like nostalgia for, mostly like other media related to them, like the Episode 1 racer video game. But yeah, sure. Let's go talk to Padme and let's go learn how to get cut in half by Darth Maul.
Yep,
sure.
Let's make it happen. All right, moving on here. Returnal developers expanding its workforce. This comes from Alex Hopley at Game Reactor. Housemarque, the developer behind the acclaimed PS5 and PC release Returnal, has been growing in anticipation of its next project. As spotted by Zuby Tech over on Twitter, Housemarque has grown from around 80 employees when it was acquired by PlayStation to 110 people. The plan is for that number to increase as Housemarque works on whatever it's got cooking next. Traditionally, an arcade-style game developer, it'll be interesting to see what Housemarque is working on next, though we certainly wouldn't say no to a Returnal sequel if that's on the cards. Mike, do you think they're working on a Returnal sequel?
That would make some sense. A lot of people liked Returnal a lot. It was a pretty big hit, even though like there was some resistance at first. Like, how could this be? What was it, $70 or $70? Like, oh, and then no one talks about that anymore. People talk about how they like Returnal. So I think a sequel makes sense, but they've also, they've been slowly getting bigger and bigger. Like maybe the next one is just them making their traditional big Sony style AAA game. That could be the thing too. And if they kind of take it inspired by the world of Returnal, like if this is Sony's chance to have its sort of
Yeah.
big sci-fi franchise or something like that, which I don't think they have outside of Ratchet and Clank. But you know what I mean? More alien, less Ewoks. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I think they probably are working on a Returnal sequel. I think it's a chance to grow the series, grow that IP into something major. Where it's like the first game got won a lot of people over, but it wasn't some massive hit. But it hit fine enough. Probably sold like around 1 million copies, maybe a little bit more than that, and especially now that it's on PC. That's pretty good. And so it's with the next one, the sequels often sell way better. And now that a lot of people are familiar with Returnal, though the anticipation will be off the charts for it for a lot of them, it could easily sell like 3 to 5 million copies based on that. So I think they're probably doing that, and it's I think probably the right move. Although I wouldn't say no to something completely new from them. I really like Housemarque. I like a lot of their games.
But you don't like Returnal that much. You're a coward. I say it every time. I'm not a giant Returnal
But that's
fan.
not
I'll
true.
say
I
it.
gave it a 3 out of 5 because I do like it. I gave it a 3 out of 5, and then there became Jeff he hates all PlayStation games. Like I don't have to tell you, it's a good game. It's just not great. It did not help that like I had played so much Hades in the months leading up to Returnal, and then you go to play this Returnal, and it's like, guys, this just isn't very good at the kind of game it's trying to be. It's fun to play. And then you play it again and again, and it's like every run feels very similar, no matter what build you have, no matter what gun you're using. It actually all feels pretty much the same, and that's completely different than what a really good roguelike can do in Hades. But listen, there's nothing wrong with Returnal. It's just not as good as it could have been. That's all. You're the one that hates Returnal. Everyone, everyone, if Sony fans, if you're looking for the person that hates Returnal, we found him. It's Mike Minotti.
No, I heard Jeff just say
all those Tokoto on Twitter. TOLKOTO.
Bad things about that game. I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying.
Get his ass.
Don't get me.
Unity lays off more than 600 people and it's closing half of its offices. This comes from Brendan Sinclair at GamesIndustry.biz.
What happened to Unity?
Yeah. Is it just? Can we just say Riccatello? Unity is cutting another 600 employees in its third round of layoffs in less than a year. The Wall Street Journal reported today. The cuts equal about 8% of the company's headcount and will leave it with roughly 7,000 employees worldwide. Additionally, Unity is looking to reduce its physical footprint, cutting down its current 58 offices worldwide to fewer than 30 over the coming years. This is a quote from John Riccatello. It's all about setting ourselves up for higher growth. And then he says, saying that the cuts will look to reduce the number of middle management layers in the organization. Unity is also planning to have employees return to in-office work at least 3 days a week starting in September because they have invested in offices and they don't want that investment to go to waste. That's me editorializing. Unity confirmed layoffs of about 200 people last June, although Riccatello told us months later that most of the impacted employees had stayed with the company in a new capacity. That was followed in January by a company laying off more than nearly 300 more. In February, Unity posted its first profitable quarter, dating back to its founding in 2004. That's always what you want to read as someone who's just been laid off. Hey, they're finally profitable, so they got money. You're fired.
Yeah.
As always, with all of these layoffs, it is about the timing and it's about the trends and it's about what you can get away with. And right now, you can lay people off, and that time's coming to a close because the oncoming recession that was going to destroy everything just is not manifesting. And so all these companies were like, well, man, if we want to lay anybody off, we're running out of time when we could just like do it and no one's going to question it. Because you can still do it right now. And most investors are going to be like, oh, yeah, everyone's laying people off. Of course they're laying people off. But that's going to change very soon. So it's like they got to pull the trigger now, even though they reported their first profitable quarter. Unity does feel really weird right now, Mike. They acquired Weta Workshop, right? They're like trying to get into film production, a place that Unreal already has like kind of taken over as Jon Favreau uses on every single one of his projects now in the volume. It's just they are playing catch up in every way, and their bread and butter indie developers. Indie developers are all now also looking to Unreal as well, or Godot, or a million other options. It feels really fraught out there for Unity. I don't know. What do you think?
No, it seemed like Unity was just on the rise for this really long time. And it just feels like it doesn't get talked about all that much anymore. There's a bit there where all you heard about was Unity, and it seemed like this real, genuine competitor to Epic. But Unreal Engine seems to have just run away with it at this point.
Yeah, Still 7,000 employees. That's a big company. I'm like, wonder, I don't know. It just seems like their future is not, there's no obvious path forward for them other than making Unity really, really good to work with again, or significantly better. And that takes a lot of investment, and they might not have the capacity to actually pull that off. All right, moving on. Chia has reached 1 million players worldwide. Developer Awaseb, A-W-A-C-E-B. I really have no idea how to say that. Awaseb announced that milestone on Twitter. That's pretty good. That the game is on PlayStation Plus, but getting 1 million players is nothing to sneeze at no matter what. And I'm glad. I really like Chia from what I've played of it. I would like to play a lot more, but boy, this year got very busy. This is one I'm like planning to go back to when I have some time. Did you ever get around to trying Chia?
No, it's it's one of those things where I watched you play it, and I was like, yeah, that does look cute. That does look nice. And then yeah, kind of the same problem where I'm playing a lot of other things. I gotta really get through that fourth playthrough of Resident Evil 4 right now, actually.
Maniac.
Yeah, and now look, it's gonna be hard to get back to this once Tears of the Kingdom is out.
Oh, is this a cozy game and you don't want to be in, like you're too cool for cozy games?
I am too cool for cozy games because,
Oh yeah, you're a badass. American badass, some would say.
But I can't pet a kitten. I gotta shoot things in the head. Yeah, no, this game looks really cool. I'm sure I would enjoy it. I would like to play it. I just didn't. And I don't think I will probably at this point. I did kind of get what I needed to by watching you play it. It looked cute. It looked fun. It sounds like it's doing good. This is a really young, small studio. I know 1 million players isn't the same as 1 million sold. That still is great. It must feel good to know 1 million people have at least tried your game. They're definitely going to get to make something else after this, and I'm going to be excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is an impressive first effort. It is something that's like, man, this is a game it's fun to go in there and mess around and explore. It is just unfortunate now, like when that bug to do that sort of thing in a game bites me, now Tears of the Kingdom's right there. Still, 1 million players, that's impressive. Next
it's funny
up,
that me, the giant Disney guy, by the way, doesn't like cozy games.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's awkward, and we have to address it. You got to talk to somebody professional about it or something.
Okay.
Street Fighter 6 sales target is 10 million. Capcom president says. This comes from Chris Scullion at VGC. Capcom's president has said the company aims to sell 10 million copies of Street Fighter 6. In an interview with Famitsu, Sujimito, who's the president, was asked if attempting to widen the game's scope and make the series more appealing to less hardcore fighting games fans had an impact on the game's development cost. The quote from Sujimoto is, "The Street Fighter series is our flagship title, so we had no hesitation in investing in it." And that's kind of refreshing to hear. Over the past few years, multiple titles in the Resident Evil series have sold 10 million copies, and the Monster Hunter series now has titles that are aiming for 20 million copies. Street Fighter V has already sold over 7 million copies, so if we can make use of our digital sales experience, we should be able to aim for 10 million copies with the next game. That's why we're trying to do everything we couldn't do before with Street Fighter 6. That's why we're where we are today. This game does feel like that they are going all out on it, and they are not holding anything back. And it, like, that is obvious on the screen. It's obvious in the way they talk about it, and that makes it very exciting for me to want to go play it. How about you?
Oh yeah, and they're not quite targeting that Luigi's Mansion 3 number.
Well, I mean, what
right?
could?
That 11 million. That come on, but
13
still
million now, actually. Yeah.
13. Jesus.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. No. This game is probably going to make that milestone. Street Fighter 5, as of the end of last year, was at 7 million copies, and that's a game that had a really rough start and was only on PlayStation. It didn't get to be on Xbox also, and it was on PC as well. But so this is going to be on more platforms. People are excited about this in a way that they never were for Street Fighter 5. It looks great. Their previews, like their marketing for it, has just been fantastic. They've done a really good job of, like, here's a little open beta, here's a demo. We've invited people here to play this. Here's a video of Cammy's abs. It's been masterful. Everybody is very excited. I'm very excited. And just the brand is so strong right now at Capcom. I think there's a lot of people who are just going to be on board for whatever big game Capcom releases right now. That's kind of where I am with them. But yeah, I think this is going to reach those numbers. It's going to be a giant hit.
Yep, I agree. I think the way he talks about, hey, we are seeing success with Resident Evil and Monster Hunter, and we're trying to carry that momentum into these other franchises. Street Fighter is obviously the right next one, then I think, hey, then there should be others after that. And how far down the line you think Mega Man is?
It's hard to say because, I mean, it has been a very long time since they really tried to make a new Mega Man game that wasn't just a kind of cute retro throwback. And I like retro throwbacks. You had to go back to like the PlayStation era, maybe with the Mega Man Legends, where it's like, we're going to try to make a Mega Man game that is as big and like on the cutting edge as any of our other games. But the thing with Mega Man is, even though it's never been this giant seller, the people who love Mega Man love Mega Man. They probably produce more Mega Man themed merchandise than anything else over at Capcom, even though, they haven't even really had a new game in that series since Mega Man 11, and that was on an island of its own. I want to believe, Jeff. It's just hard to say, but they're going to have some money to play around with here. Maybe they're going to be able to take a risk. But you can also say, well, you could do that, or you can just go and throw all that money into making Devil May Cry 6 a really big deal, or making sure that Dragon's Dogma 2 is this giant hit that's going to really solidify that as a franchise.
They're definitely going to do exactly that. They're definitely going to. So yeah, that's where I think Mega Man is on the list. It's just probably below a lot of those in terms of figuring out how to turn it into the next big thing.
Right. It is very encouraging that Mega Man Battle Network collection has actually been doing really well.
Yeah,
like that already sold 1 million copies, and it's just a collection. But now part of me is worried, like, oh, is that what the Mega Man game will look like? Is another sort of RPG who's he watched it, which I like, but it's not like the Ratchet and Clank style 3D action platformer I've always wanted from a big Mega Man game.
Yep, yes, I get the concern. It's like something positive has happened here, but do they take the wrong lesson from it?
Right. There's gonna be a lot of talking in my big AAA Mega Man game. Like, no, that's not really what I want. But whatever.
I think Capcom's the one company that seems to understand what's going on with a lot of their stuff, and I hope that they can spot that and be like, yeah, sure, the Battle Network very successful. We can maybe take some of those elements, but let's just really make a new Mega Man game that speaks to that the original NES games and take it from there.
They have so many franchises they could just bring back. Your Onimushas, your Dino Crisis, Power Stone, Darkstalkers. There's a million Capcom franchises that people like that could come back and get this big new RE engine makeover and potentially be giant hits. It's exciting.
Just another tidbit from this interview, Sugimoto noted that 80% of Capcom's game sales are now physical titles. Yeah, that's right. It means the company now plans its sales strategy for a game for up to 3 years after its original release. I think that actually might be a misprint. I think they mean digital.
Digital would make more sense.
I think 80% of Capcom games are now,
and with the number.
Yes, exactly, with the context there. So yeah, that's digital sales. That's pretty high, and I think they're like, that's why he spoke to our ability to sell games digitally, and that's where like a lot of the successes for them is coming from. All right, Mike, I have the poll from Monday. I'm going to bring that up right now. I asked Lego Donkey Kong, DK at Universal, DK and Mario movie, and a possible DK movie. Is Nintendo preparing us for a big new Donkey Kong game? 68.5% said yes. 31.5% said no. Mike, what do you think?
It's funny because I said yes, mostly because I do think a new big Donkey Kong game is coming. I don't know if I necessarily think that this is what they've been like planting seeds and preparing us necessarily with this stuff. I think a lot of it just happened to make sense. Like, you're doing all this Mario stuff. Donkey Kong is a Mario adjacent character. Makes a lot of sense. You need a theme park ride. You need one that's like going to be a little bit more thrilling. What do you do if you're going to make a sort of Nintendo themed coaster, but it's not going to be a big boy coaster, not quite a kid coaster? Well, Donkey Kong Country makes a lot of sense for that. But there's got to be something Donkey Kong heading. It's been a long time since we got an original Donkey Kong game. Basically, not during this entire Switch generation, which has been very long.
Yeah, I'm with you to a certain extent on if this was all planned, that is it's actually impressive and maybe too convenient to be real, that like they lined up all these things so close to one another. But Nintendo did speak around the time when the Wii U was really going bad, and Iwata was like, we want to leverage our IP in ways that like really makes them synergize with one another and fuels their growth. And it's like, is this the strategy? Is this what it looks like? I think this is a form of it, but maybe we shouldn't ascribe a sort of deliberateness to what they're doing here when it's like, you're right. A lot of times Donkey Kong is just a good answer for a question of what do we do here? What else should we put in the Mario movie? Well, Donkey Kong. At a certain point, maybe that's the easiest. It's Occam's razor, and that's actually what's happening. All right. I have a new poll question that I am going to ask everybody in a moment. In the meantime, Mike, why don't you tell people where they can find you, what you have going on, things like that?
Yeah, Twitter, Twitch, @Tokoto. Please check out GamesBeat, where I am managing editor. We're all getting busy, ramping up for what we have our event later this month. And then we also have Summer Game Fest. We're getting ready for that. A lot's going on, just trying to figure out all that travel and stuff. Jeff's a lot of fun. No Robo Mitch this week. Robo Mitch started having nightmares about his past life, so he's recharging. Right. But Jeff and I will be getting together to do a Diet Blake Club. And since it's going to be on Star Wars Day, we're going to play that PlayStation 1 classic fighting game, Star Wars Masters of Teräs. So that should be fun. I'm excited for that.
Me too. I'm actually looking forward to that. We got it working this time. It's going to be a good time. And that'll be happening tomorrow. And then what do we have today? It's McGrubber. I'm gonna be playing some Hitman 3, and Jan's gonna be guiding me, and then Mike's gonna show up when he can help as well. So that'll be a good time. All right, the new poll: do you think Arcane should try to fix Redfall or move on to something new? The options there are fix Redfall, something new. Go ahead and vote. We'll talk about it tomorrow on Game S Mornings. Mike, what do you think?
I still am having trouble sleeping because I just lay in bed and I think about Redfall. I just can't wrap my head around it. It is, again, it's like, I don't want to be mean. It's terrible. It's really rough. It is fascinating how much of a misfire it is. I think you maybe just move on. Maybe get some patches. Do a little bit there with that. Sure, why not? It is going to be on Game Pass. You don't want it to be this incredible embarrassment forever, I guess. But you can't do too much. But aside from all that technical stuff, the game itself just isn't fun and just is baffling in so many ways.
Yep, I think it's like I said, so far away from where it makes sense that it's just that investment is an opportunity cost that would prevent you from working on something that could just be fresh and new and better, or a rehash of something that works, like a sequel to Dishonored. Even that would definitely be preferable, I think, than trying to fix Redfall. I think because I mean, who's going to be asking for a Redfall 2? I suppose if you do fix it, but it just seems so far away.
It's not easy. When Final Fantasy 14 or Realm Reborn happened, there were a lot of people we could just do that when our games are bad. And sometimes you can, depending, you mentioned Sea of Thieves, but again, that's a kind of rough launch, right?
Yes.
Well, something's like an Anthem, and this is kind of where we seem to be with this. Maybe you could say we're gonna do that. Well, eventually it's Anthem. They're just actually no, let's just move on. And I think that's kind of the lesson to learn here when something comes out in this rough a shape.
We will talk about the results of this tomorrow on Giant Bomb for Game S Mornings, where I'll have Jan on the show. Looking forward to that. Speaking of Giant Bomb, we already mentioned McRubber, the Be Light Club. We will have a voicemail dump truck tomorrow afternoon. We'll have an Unprofessional Fridays. The plan right now is still stands, so we're playing Redfall on there, and so we're hoping someone else comes up with a better idea. But
I think people should play Redfall and hash it out. I think it should happen.
I kind of think so too. I think we cannot be afraid. We cannot stand in awe of astonishment of bad games. We got to stand in their light and understand them for what they are. So that'll probably happen on Friday. We'll see. In the meantime, though, Mike, thank you so much for spending today with me talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a good time. Lot popping off right now, as they say.
Yep. Pick it up if it really feels like we are in May and about to be in June. And if a lot of companies are putting the pieces in place for the rest of the year. So we'll have a lot to talk about in the weeks ahead. I hope you all show up for it. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.
Don't play any more Redfall, Jen. You're fine an hour in.